We got the Explore Cam going down at the Jetties. See what we can see. I'm about to hold this out. Welcome back to Fish Gum, the channel. I am Tony Fagioni, the inventor and creator of Fish Gum the Bait and the creator of content at this channel. This is the Destin Jetties. You can see my LY. That is what we're using for bait. I am actually using this rod is a bigger rod for my camera. I believe it's my Ninja Tackle Dagger with a 3000 series reel. When I start fishing and not using the camera, what you'll see are these fish are especially smart when you have this Weston Explore camera really hovering over my bait there, that these fish that I'm targeting, yeah, there's an eat right there. There goes. We got the wrong fish eating. That is a pinfish that's going to rip the bait off. That they're very shy in actually eating the bait on the camera. I'm going to next time do a longer leader with a little split shot so we can get this bait in frame. The bait right now is in the top left. It's not floating down just yet. We've got some faint mangrove snapper in the very far background and some close-ups right there. There's a nice size one right there that we missed. And every time you see a kind of a jolt of the camera, that's some fish eating the bait. But this area is loaded. There were schools of the gray snapper coming through further out too, but we're using LY that are dead, and as you can see, it's just drifting, and the zombie horde takes it out of pinfish. Another drop, but I used 17-pound monofilament as a shock leader. It was about 15 feet long, so I would not get cut off in the rocks. Monofilament can take some of the scrapes that you get when you're fishing these jetties, and from the leader of monofilament I did tie on about a 2-foot 16-pound fluorocarbon and a size 6 circle hook. And we ended up limiting, you can see in the background a school of fish way back there. I can't tell what those are, but the mangrove were schooling like that further out as well. Here's my bait. Kind of see it in frame right now. I thought it was gone, so I pulled it out and put it back down. But we caught, 4 of us caught 20 mangrove snapper in this exact spot in 1 hour. Biggest was about 17 inches. There were some big ones down there like 24, 26. Had a hard time getting a chance catching one of those. But the first thing you notice, it's competition. But what's interesting is a lot of time these snapper, and Brooks, my friend Brooks pointed this out, that the snapper are letting the pinfish loosen the bait because they don't have a mouth to grab and go. But the mangrove, after the bait was loosened by the pinfish, would actually take it off the hook. So you'd lose a lot because that bait was already kind of loose from the help of the pinfish. You'll see some hardtail as well schooling together, and of course no small supply of pinfish. And something I didn't know is that you can catch these mangrove snapper at the Destin Jetties all summer long. The first time I went this summer was this past weekend. It was August 23rd, and limited out in an hour. I used the runt rod and it was so fun. I am using full drag. We all are for the most part. Maybe just a little bit loose so we don't straighten the hook. but we're using full drag for the most part to pull these fish off and out of the rocks. We did have a long net in case we had a nice giant one, but again, the biggest was about 17 inches. Not seeing any other species of fish except the ones that I've already mentioned. These, I know there's a little black one going by. I do not know what that was. There's a couple black fish towards the rocks. I did see a Sergeant Major, which looks like a baby sheep's head, while I was there. There's that black fish again by the jetties, staying close. Those look like they could be eaten. There's my bait, top left corner. Again, when I go back, I'm going to try to reposition this camera so we can see some actual eats. While I was there, it seemed like the 17-pound monofilament shock leader, it was tied to my braid, and my 16-pound fluorocarbon leader, no weight, just drifting the bait out there. I caught personally about 8 mangrove in that hour, broke off probably 2 times, and I was in those rocks multiple times trying to pull these fish out, so I was very happy. If you fished for mangrove or gray snapper around bridges or other structure, you know how frustrating it can be. I'll be honest with you, I don't even know if I'll go back to bridges for mangrove because of how easier this was fishing, and actually just the take of the fish that we caught. There they are, just trying to loosen that bait up. You can see, you can barely see my hook. There we go, we got it. Another one in the frame coming down. Look at the distance. There's some more bait fish away from the rocks. Again, this is about 2 feet from the rocks. A lot of the times in the spot that we were at and the clarity that there was that day, you could sight cast and watch these fish eat your bait or take your bait. We went through a lot of LY. Remember I said I caught about 7 or 8 mangrove? They stole my bait at least 30 times. So that ratio to catches doesn't seem that good because the amount of bait that we use, but it sure is better using dead LY. If you use live shrimp this day, you wouldn't have stood a chance against the pinfish, and your fish would be devoured and wouldn't even have shot at the snapper. But if you're looking to catch some fish, this is the style right now, probably into September as the water temperatures are still kind of warm. There's a limit right there of mangrove, just 5 sitting right there. Every one of those is a keeper size. We didn't catch a single mangrove that was 10 inches or less. Average size was about 12, largest was 17, and there were many, many more that were in the 20s that we just couldn't get to eat. What else would you try to use here? Would you have a castable slow pitch jig, a little small micro jig that you could cast out and work back against the rocks? I think that would work. What other baits or rigs are you thinking to use if you head out to the Destin Jetties? I'd like to know. I'm not used to this style of fishing. Again, my friend Brooks Reed, who has a surf fishing charter, he got us on these fish, me, Bradley, Boucher, and JJ. We were here fishing and he got us on these fish, gave us the style to use. What would you try? Same style? Would you do something differently? I'd like to know. I want to know how else I can catch these, maybe even have more success, which is going to be very hard, catching 5 in an hour. Actually, it was 20 an hour between the 4 of us, and we were generally about 3 feet standing next to each other. Good news is we didn't have to trek down to the very end to catch these fish. It was relatively an easy walk from the beach to catch these fish. That's what was cool. I did fall at the jetties once, and I told myself I'm never going back. Could have been a lot worse to me. I just basically crushed my finger against the rocks, my pinky finger. It ended up healing just fine, but it can be very dangerous when you're at the jetties. I've known people to be taken back by ambulance, carried off by anglers, unable to walk back on their own because they were injured so badly. So be careful when you go out there. Don't think you can just be Superman here. Again, you got all the mangrove by the rocks. This is right up against where we were standing. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you will do when you go out there. Again, I'm using the Explore Cam by Weston. It is less than 2 ounces. I can cast it, and I was impressed by the way it was floating when I was fishing this style. I usually use the Weston Cam on set rigs. Got multiple videos on my channel, underwater fishing, mainly surf fishing. Check them out. Thank you so much for watching. Join me next time right here. We excite the strike. God bless.